Some people feel an almost instinctive discomfort in crowded places, a tension that seems to rise from deep within. This is not a matter of choice or mere preference. It is the result of an innate sensitivity to stimuli. Their minds are finely tuned instruments, constantly registering every sound, every movement, every subtle shift in the environment. While most people can filter this barrage of information, these individuals cannot. Their nervous system reacts to what others might barely notice. Imagine a room buzzing with energy, a sea of bodies moving in countless directions, voices overlapping, lights flashing. What seems exhilarating to some can feel like an assault to others. It is as though their psyche is telling them, "This is too much. You must protect your inner equilibrium." This sensitivity, often misunderstood, is not a weakness. It is a form of heightened awareness, a kind of psychic clarity that demands respect. When we begin to recognize and honor this trait in ourselves or others, we uncover a profound truth. The mind, like the body, has limits, and respecting those limits is essential to preserving our inner peace. In a world that prizes constant stimulation, understanding this instinct is not indulgence, it is survival. For many who avoid crowded spaces, the need for personal space is not simply a preference. It is a fundamental requirement for psychological stability. Every human being carries an invisible boundary, a zone where the mind feels safe and the spirit remains intact. When that boundary is breached, even unintentionally, it can provoke subtle but profound discomfort. In crowded places, these boundaries are constantly challenged. Bodies press too close, voices collide, and the mind struggles to maintain focus and clarity. To an outside observer, this may seem trivial, even irrational, but to those experiencing it, it is a deeply rooted necessity. Personal space is more than physical distance. It is the margin within which thought, reflection, and emotional equilibrium are preserved. The violation of this margin triggers tension, a silent signal that the psyche is being stretched beyond its capacity. Recognizing this need in ourselves and others is an act of empathy and wisdom. We must understand that the desire for distance is not social rejection, it is self-preservation. To honor these boundaries is to honor the mind itself, and in doing so, we cultivate a world where sensitivity is respected rather than judged. When a person enters a crowded space, their mind does not simply register the presence of others, it reacts. Every noise, every movement, every scent becomes amplified, triggering a cascade of internal responses. For many, this overstimulation is not merely uncomfortable, it is anxiety-inducing. The brain, constantly processing an overwhelming volume of input, can become hyperactive, as if sounding an alarm that something is amiss. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, thoughts scatter. What seems trivial to an outsider, a busy street, a bustling mall, a crowded concert, can feel like an existential threat to someone who is highly sensitive. This reaction is not a flaw, it is the mind's ancient mechanism of survival, an echo of the fight or flight response that has guided humanity for millennia. Understanding this response shifts our perspective. Avoidance of crowds is not weakness or avoidance of life. It is the preservation of mental equilibrium. Recognizing the signs of overstimulation in ourselves and others allows us to navigate the world with greater compassion and insight. To dismiss it is to ignore the signals our psyche sends when it reaches its limits. We must remember, respecting these thresholds is not indulgence, it is wisdom in action. Avoiding crowded spaces is often closely tied to the way some people manage their inner energy. Just as the body tires from physical exertion, the mind and spirit have a finite capacity for social stimulation. For those with introverted tendencies, every interaction, every shared space, every passing glance consumes energy that must later be replenished. Crowded environments, therefore, aren't simply inconvenient, they are exhausting. The struggle is invisible to the outside world. It is a silent negotiation of mental resources. To navigate a sea of people without pause or retreat is not only tiring, it is disorienting. Those who instinctively step back are not rejecting life or society, they are preserving their vitality, protecting their capacity to think, to feel, to act with clarity. Understanding this is crucial, both for ourselves and for those around us. It allows us to see that solitude is not mere withdrawal, but a form of strategic replenishment, a conscious act of self-care. To honor this need is to honor the rhythms of the human psyche itself. In a world that glorifies perpetual engagement, recognizing the importance of mental energy is not weakness, it is wisdom. Our preferences for solitude and avoidance of crowds are often shaped by experiences long before we fully understand them. Early encounters with overwhelming social situations, moments of vulnerability, or even subtle forms of exclusion can leave a lasting imprint on the psyche. These experiences do not simply fade, they weave themselves into the very architecture of the mind, guiding behavior in ways we may not consciously recognize. When a person instinctively steps away from a crowd, it is rarely arbitrary. It is a response informed by memory, by the body's recollection of discomfort or threat. The mind remembers the tension, the unease, and quietly instructs the individual to preserve their sense of safety. Recognizing this allows us to approach ourselves and others with empathy. What might appear as avoidance is, in truth, a dialogue between past experiences and present needs. Each act of stepping back is not a refusal of life, but a statement of awareness. A careful preservation of the self. Understanding this connection between experience and behavior transforms judgment into insight. We begin to see that our avoidance is not weakness, but wisdom, and that honoring our past while navigating the present is an essential act of self-respect. Ultimately, the avoidance of crowded spaces is a profound act of self-preservation and reflection. It is not mere preference, nor simple avoidance of others. It is a conscious or instinctive choice to protect the integrity of one's inner world. In solitude, the mind finds clarity, the heart finds calm, and the spirit regains balance. Quiet spaces are not empty. They are rich with opportunity for introspection, for understanding the patterns of our thoughts and emotions. Those who seek this solitude are not rejecting society. They are cultivating themselves, allowing their creativity, wisdom, and resilience to flourish. There is a subtle courage in this choice, a recognition that the external world, with its constant stimuli, cannot always be tamed, but the internal world can be nurtured. By stepping away from the crowd, they are not hiding, they are fortifying. And this is a lesson for all of us. To know when to engage and when to withdraw is not weakness but mastery. Solitude, in this sense, becomes a tool of self-awareness, a path to equilibrium. In honoring our need for space, we honor the psyche itself, and in doing so, we take the first step toward true inner freedom